you can't fight your thoughts. It's very difficult. Whatever you resist will persist. You have to surrender. You have to seek refuge in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala when these thoughts come, and you have to let them be. Don't judge them. So now that thought comes, and if you start to judge that thought, but he was being a certain way, he was a very bad person, he did a very bad thing, and you give a lot of energy to that thought, it's not going to leave you. You're adding fuel to the fire. The best way to get rid of that thought is Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Bismillah, alhamdulillah, wa salatu wa salamu ala rasulillah, amma ba'd. Welcome to My Tazkiyah Podcast. We hope you enjoyed our previous episodes, and today we will be continuing with subjects related to addiction and mental health, inshallah. So, one of the coming episodes, we'll have a special guest with us, inshallah, a student of knowledge, who will really go into the Islamic side of things, like talk about tazkiyah, how we can better our tawakkul in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and how we can better our relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So I think everyone will really enjoy that, inshallah. But yeah, today we're going to be talking about the importance of presence and how important it is to have a good relationship with oneself. So as I was mentioning to you brothers yesterday, akhi, that presence is very important. It's actually a stage in our program, right? Our whole stage is dedicated to present moment awareness, meditation. But when I say meditation, a lot of Muslims get a bit scared of the word meditation. Yeah. They think that I'm talking about Buddha or someone, you know what I mean? Some becoming a Shaolin monk, going to a temple to do like 30,000 hours of meditation or something. But it's none of that, right? When we talk about meditation, we talk about learning to be present in the moment, learning to live in the now. Because a lot of us are overwhelmed with thoughts, racing thoughts, overthinking. In our day-to-day life, we're hardly in the present moment. When I used to do sessions with brothers, when we used to be on stage 7, I used to ask them, what's the last time you did wudu? And it might be like the previous prayer and so on. And I'll ask them, do you remember the water going down your hands and going into the sink? And most of them will say no. I'll say, why can't you remember something as simple as you doing wudu and water dripping off your hands and going in the sink, and you don't remember that? No. Why? Because I was thinking about something in the past. I was thinking about something in the future. I was thinking about work, exams, stressed, anxious, whatever. And it is these simple things, akhi, that are so beautiful in our day-to-day life that we take for granted and we don't even realize, and we're living in our mind and ignoring these beautiful moments within our day. I'll ask other questions like, when's the last time you remember walking on a puddle of water on the floor? And again, a lot of brothers will say, I don't remember, or maybe I remember when I was a kid. Like the last time I remember was maybe when I was a kid 10 years ago. And I give an example of my son. I say sometimes when he comes from school, I notice this, that he's stepping on puddles, youngsters, right? They're stepping on every puddle. Why? Because they're very present. They're in the moment. They're not in their mind, thinking about the past, the future. And that's what we need to try to get as close as we can to that. Because ultimately, akhi, pornography or drugs or your form of escapism, this is what it is providing the addict with. It's allowing them to get into the present moment. So when someone is viewing this inappropriate material, they are releasing these abnormal amounts of dopamine, and they're in the moment, right? So they're not in the past. They're not in the future. They're in the present moment. And this is why it's so addictive. It's releasing those obscene amounts of chemicals and is allowing them to forget about all their worries. It's allowing them to forget about all their stresses of the past and the future, and they get into the present moment. So why we put this into the program as a stage, because we want to provide that addict with whatever the addiction was providing them with, minus the haram. So we want to see what unmet need is the addiction fulfilling for you.
Absolutely.
No? For a lot of people, It's just happiness. They just want to be happy. They just want to be at peace. This is why you're addicted to pornography. That's the reality. This is why you're addicted to drugs. Whatever substance it is, you just want to be happy. You just want to escape your stress and anxiety. And pornography became that thing that was allowing you to escape all those stresses, is allowing you to get present, is allowing you to de-stress from your day-to-day work life, from your studies, from your exams. And this is why we have to learn to live in the now, like, develop that awareness, live outside of the mind. Because the mind is where the inner addict lives. The mind, it can be a very dangerous place. So in recovery, you need to try to stay out of this place as much as possible. This is where a lot of the waswasa takes place. Yes? So, there's some tools, inshallah, we'll try to...
You mentioned wudu, having to stay present during wudu. But even salah is something that's so important because, when you make the takbir, it's like you're shutting down everything else and you're focusing on your connection with Allah Ta'ala in that moment. But unfortunately, we don't have that connection in salah. And so we don't feel the khushu in the salah. And, when the imam's reciting and you don't even know what he's recited. You don't even know what surah he's recited in Maghrib, Isha and Fajr when he's reciting aloud. Because, when you finish salah and you're thinking, if someone was to ask you what surah did the imam recite, and you just wouldn't know. It reminds me of a story of there was a congregation of a jama'ah, and the imam he finishes his salah and he says salam, and the congregation was split between two and saying, Imam, you've only read 3 rakats, and then somebody said, no, he's read 4 rakats, and so there was this kind of argument as such, and one person, he stood up and he said, I know for certain that he only prayed 3 rakats. And then they asked him, how he's so sure that he only prayed 3 rakats. He goes, whenever we go into salah and it's 4 rakats, I have 4 businesses. And then each rakah, I account for each of my businesses. So in the first rakah, I'm accounting for X business, and then in the second rakah, I'm accounting for Y business and Z business. And today I was only able to account for 3 businesses and what's going on in that business. So I know for sure that he has only prayed 3 rakahs. It's crazy. So this is what we're kind of dealing with here. And I'll give you my personal story where, I've been praying salah from a young age, as I was mentioning in the previous podcast, because of my family and my parents and stuff, kept pushing us to the masjid. And we had the masjid opposite my grandma's house, so we were there quite often as well. So alhamdulillah, we prayed a majority of our salahs in the masjid. Come Tarawih time, and it was winter, so it wasn't late as such. It was, I think we started about 7 o'clock, and we finished about 9:15. Now the imam was reciting, and there's only one imam in our local masjid, and he's reciting for this full 20 rakahs and witr and isha as well. And as a young child, you don't know what the imam's saying, obviously, so you don't have that khushu in salah and stuff, so you just switch off. And purposefully, I remember switching off, where I tried to think about everything possible to try and get me through that 1 hour, 1.5 hours. And it's crazy that, even until now, it's still a problem where when takbir is made, my mind is so used to escaping that I struggle to attain khushu my salah because I'm so used to escaping all those years.
SubhanAllah. What's your experience with salah and khushu? Basically, I did a talk recently in East London, yeah? It's like a talk/workshop. And I asked this, there were a lot of youngsters in it, so after we prayed Isha, and then I asked them, when I was talking about present moment awareness, and I said, who remembers what the Imam recited in the Salah? No one remembered. It took a while, and then I think the Imam, he was a youngster, I think he was the Imam, then he said Surah Qaf, I recited from there. Or no, I don't know if he said I recited, again, I wasn't sure if he was the Imam, but it was a youngster who mentioned it, subhanAllah. No one was able to answer, even the adults. And, but 2 weeks ago, last week, I was in prayer, I was reading Dhuhr, right, in a masjid. And that's what happened, the third rakah, I was relying on, because I forgot now, the third rakah or the fourth rakah. So fourth one. It was the third one, isn't it? And then the guy next to me, he sat down. So I obviously followed him. I said, okay, maybe it's fourth. Obviously, I'm probably busy in my mind and I wasn't present. So because he sat down, then I sat down. You know what I mean? Because I wasn't fully like certain. You know what I mean? That it's not the fourth one, it's the third one. And then he's getting up, and then I'm getting up. Then he sits down. Like it was just like, you know, moving up and down a bit. And then obviously everyone got up. He got up. Then I got up. Right, and it just shows how much we lack presence. Like this is so important for even salah. This is why I say like that khushu, because we're so rushed in our day-to-day life. Yeah, especially living in London. Like it's such a fast life. Like that rat race. Everyone's just running to get to the next moment, the next place. If you were to ask people, like, go in central London, where are you running to? They'll probably say, I'm running to get to the next moment. Do you know what I mean? And we just need to learn to slow things down. Like, we can't even be grateful for the blessings of Allah if we're so rushed. How are we going to appreciate the beauty of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala if we're always rushing? We're rushing with our wives, with our kids, with our parents, maybe even seeing the beauty of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the creation of Allah, trees, or, you know, just natural things outside, driving around, walking around. Like, if we're always going to be rushed, how are we going to appreciate and be grateful for the blessings of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? And this is what it comes back to. Like, you know, when you are struggling, so one tip I can give, right, a practical tip, how to get rid of unwanted thoughts. For instance, a lot of people struggle with unwanted thoughts. So it could be thoughts to do with this addiction specifically. So it could be lustful thoughts, or it could be the underlying issues that are actually driving the addiction. So thoughts to do with resentment, right? Resentful thoughts, thoughts based on anger, anxiety of the future, right? So like all our thoughts is either the past or the future, right? So the past will be regret, maybe, you know, depression or resentment, and thoughts to do with the future will be anxiety and stress about the future. So how you get rid of these is by focusing on the now, right? So if you're struggling, you know, some people struggle with thoughts like, I remember, like I can vouch for this. I was on a holiday in Turkey and I'm chilling by the pool, like, you know, lying down, very comfortable environment. And then something just came in my mind, subhanAllah, that happened like 10 years ago. And I couldn't get rid of it. I couldn't get rid of it because I followed those chains, you know, that chain of thought. Didn't connect with Allah. Maybe didn't seek refuge in Allah, Allahu A'lam. But I forgot about the importance of being in the present moment. But how we get rid of these very strong unwanted thoughts is by ignoring them, not judging them, treating them like you're on the park bench. Imagine you're on the park bench and you see a dog walking past. That dog, he will walk past you. You know, dogs, they give you eye contact. And they say if you give dog eye contact, they will, you know, maybe come to you and they'll want attention or they'll connect with you. And the dog may come, try to jump on you. And the more attention you give that dog, the more it's going to stay with you. But if you don't give it eye contact and you don't give it that attention, it'll probably just walk past. Its owner will call it and it will leave. Likewise, you know, you're in the park and there's birds flying about. If you throw some bread on the floor, all the birds will flock together and they'll start eating that bread, right? So that's what we do with our thoughts sometimes. You can't fight your thoughts. It's very difficult. You know the saying, whatever you resist will persist. You have to surrender. You have to seek refuge in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala when these thoughts come, and you have to let them be. Don't judge them. That's the most powerful way to get rid of unwanted thoughts. Don't judge them. So this thought came in your mind 10 years ago. Maybe someone wronged you. Yeah, some major incident happened. Or maybe you wronged someone, so you're feeling guilty. Or if they wronged you, you're feeling resentful. So now that thought comes. And if you start to judge that thought, oh, but he was being a certain way. He was a very bad person. He did a very bad thing. You're just giving it that energy. Or you wrong someone and you're like, but I did this for that reason. And, you know, I wouldn't have done it. If this didn't happen, that wouldn't have happened. And you give a lot of energy to that thought. It's not going to leave you. You're just fueling, you know, you're adding fuel to the fire. The best way to get rid of that thought is obviously if you have done haram or something wrong, you make tawbah, and I'm sure like you have probably made tawbah for these things. So you have to move forward. So how you do that is you don't judge that thought. So you basically just let it come. Look at that thought. Treat it like that bird flying in the sky. Treat it like that dog. Don't judge it. Don't start saying, "Oh, but I didn't do. It wasn't that bad. But he did this. She did this. This is why I did this." Just let it pass you, and keep bringing your focus on into the present moment. So if I was struggling with an unwanted thought right now, it's bothering me. What I would do is I would look at this mic. I may look at my thobe, or the sofa. You can use sense perceptions, touching, seeing, hearing, smelling, even smelling beautiful smells. These are entry points into the now.
Yeah.
So you keep bringing your focus to the present moment. The unwanted thought, the waswasa can be very strong sometimes. Even this is like, with OCD and so on. You keep using your sense perceptions and focus on the present moment. The thought comes again. Don't judge it. Let it just fly around. Sometimes you can even laugh at them. You realize, how like funny it could be, like how petty sometimes the way we follow thoughts. And even with regards to addiction, even lustful thoughts. This is something you can try. Seek refuge in Allah. Keep seeking help in Allah, but don't engage with those thoughts regarding addiction. Keep focusing on the present moment. Your breath. One of the most powerful ways to disrupt emotions,
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
when we talk about present awareness, when we actually eat food, and we're like, sometimes we actually just eat food while watching TV or something, so we're not aware of what we're eating or what we're drinking. And they say like, it's so important to be aware of what you're eating, what you're drinking. So, I guess like the only time when you're really aware of you drinking is that when you're very thirsty.
Yeah.
And maybe you're in a hot country or something, it's really hot outside, and then you drink the water, cool water, and it's just going down your throat. It's you can feel it like refreshing your mouth, and then it goes down your throat, cools your throat down, and you feel it going all the way down to your stomach, and you can eat. And I've heard it myself, where I've heard it like drip into my stomach and stuff. So you can. It's possible. It's completely possible to actually do that.
That's some deep level of presence there.
So
It's like feel the drips
yeah,
coming down.
yeah. You have to be very quiet for it, but you can even hear it. Like it's a bit crazy. So, next time you take a sip of water, just try and feel that water coming down and actually refreshing you.
Whenever I talk about this, I just calm down. Like whenever I talk about presence, because it just makes me present. Like right now, I'm focusing on breathing more. I just feel chilled out. I feel calm now, man. I mean, we need to do more of these podcasts related to Stage 7. But you can say something. I'll be asking.
So even now, just thoughts are running through the head. Like sitting here, listening to you guys, just got like 100 thoughts going through.
Yeah,
But like you said, with me, I just don't entertain the thoughts. I've learned to let go. Like a thought comes, I'm not bothered. It doesn't bother me at all. Do you know what I mean? So like before, a thought would come. I'll be like thinking over and over and over and over and just going into depression and stuff. Do you know what I mean? So the way I learned to get out of that is just not entertaining the thought at all. So alhamdulillah, that helped a lot. And now like anything can happen. Like he knows, like something major can happen. It doesn't bother me no more. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, obviously you get thoughts, but I don't like. A thought will come and I'll just let it pass. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, I mean I think that's one of the biggest problems as humans we have, that we live in the head, isn't it? Like, I mean, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
and we just like worry about things that probably didn't even happen,
Or won't even ever
happen. Do you know what I mean? We just waste our time thinking about these things and worrying ourselves, going into depression and all of that stuff, like for nothing. Do you know what I mean? So
Literally.
yeah. So just let go of the thoughts. Just keep it moving.
I remember this quote. It said like something like 90% of the things we worry about never happen.
Never happen.
And you know what? I believe that must be very true. It makes a lot of sense. Like there must be a lot of reality. I don't know if it's like, actual statistics. It'd be hard to actually get real statistics behind that, but it's believable. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
The thing is, you've been through a lot of stuff as well. I know obviously a lot about you, right? Your life, and mashallah, like I think pain. I remember a meditation expert.
We'll do a full 1 hour
A full podcast, yeah,
on
Abu
me.
Yassin's life. You know what I mean? The life and struggle of Abu Yassin.
Yeah.
And this meditation expert, he was saying, or actually the interviewer, he was asking him, and he was like, with this change that people have in their life, right? He goes, some people, it's pain that drives you towards ultimate, like this life of connectedness to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, or how they call it, the awakening, where you just basically find a new life. He goes, like, people go to that extent where they are so bothered maybe by their thoughts and so on, and they're suicidal, and they have like two choices. You know what I mean? Either they just continue in that darkness, or they have this complete transformation. Do you know what I mean? Like, and they awaken to life. And this is what it is. Like, I think what we are seeing was mentioning, because he's been through stuff in his life, like, it's kind of automatic process sometimes. Like, where the brain is like, it's just not worth it anymore. Like, I've given myself too much trouble, too much pain. Like, I can't continue with this pain.
Yeah.
That's
what it is, basically.
Yeah.
Like, sometimes even with people, like, they might think, oh, this guy's like a bit weird or whatever. It's just like, how can I say, like, when someone shows you love and respect, yeah, you show it back to them, isn't it? But when someone, like, I don't know how to explain it, it's like, the way I have become is, like, if someone does something, it's not going to bother me. Like, like, if someone does something, it's not going to bother me, but I know that I can just keep it moving, you know what I mean? So, I've just distanced myself. I don't know if this is going in the right direction of the present moment.
No, because I hear what you're saying. You're saying basically, and it reminds me of another story as well. So basically, what you're saying is that people don't see the journey in it. They don't see what you've been through, your background. So some people might find it like, how is he so like calm and relaxed?
Yeah, that's
because they haven't seen the whole biography. Do you know what I mean? Why am I like this?
Like there's times in it with other stuff, and it's like everyone's worried, and I'm like just calm. They're laughing at me. Like, how can you be so calm? Like, I remember there was one situation with another brother, and this brother was pulling his hair out, and I was sitting there, and he got angry with me. He goes, bro, we're in trouble, right? And you're just chilling. Do you know what I mean? But like that, I mean, the issue could have got resolved without all of this hoo-ha. Do you know what I mean? And I was like, calm down, relax, and we'll think about it, how to get over it. So yeah.
That's what a lot of us have, this mindset that we have to worry, we have to like be a certain way, but it's all a myth. Like, because what is that extra worry, or you being loud or being extra worried going to do? It's not going to do anything to solve the situation. You got to just get to the point and solve the situation. It's like, again, this guy big in the meditation field, yeah, non-Muslim. He done like a little retreat, and he's very present, like his demeanor and that. But I really like find his stuff beneficial. And he done this retreat, and one woman came to him after one of the talks, for a few days, and she goes like, I have to leave. I can't tolerate this. Like, this is too much for me. I'm gonna go. Yeah. And then I think he said something like, see how it goes. She stayed another night. And then after she got to know him a bit more, she was like, okay, I think I'm changed my mind now. I'll stay. And he goes, why did you want to run away? He goes, because I found you so weird. Yeah. He goes, I found you so weird and creepy. And I thought you might come in the middle of the night into my room and murder me. I was laughing my head off.
Serial killer vibes.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Obviously, he's like a meditation guy, innit? So he's present, not all the, fluffing around, yeah? Just like he's calm. And a person who's not used to that, they're used to that mental noise, rushing around, they'll find these kind of people weird. Like, you're too calm, you're too relaxed. And she thought like this guy's some serial killer who's gonna come in the middle of the night and duppy her, bro. But then she realized like he's normal, all the people around, he's normal. He's just like that. This is what he's all about. It's about, focusing on living in the present moment and all these things. But it's something that is very important and part of the recovery journey, because if you can't learn to quieten the mind, and slow down the mind, you're always going to be escaping, because those thoughts, the overthinking, is what causes, that zero tolerance approach we have, yeah. So it's inspired from the verse in the Quran, وَلَا تَقْرَبُوا الزِّنَا, do not go near zina. So in the program we try to say, look, let's follow this verse of the Quran, and we tell our members to have a zero tolerance approach to second looks. So lowering your gaze, not taking second looks. Zero tolerance approach to second thoughts, not engaging in the second thoughts. And zero tolerance approach to second clicks. So, on technology, social media, you make, and notice I say second looks, second thoughts, second clicks, because you won't be able to really control that first look. We're not going to be walking or driving with our head down. Right, we're gonna see people. Likewise, first thoughts. This is life. Life is a test. That one of the biggest tests is waswas that comes to our mind, and then we have the free will to engage in the waswas, or we have the free will to call out to Allah and seek His aid and help, and ask Him to remove this waswas and busy ourselves with righteous actions. And likewise with the second clicks. Even on social media, you may be going through Islamic content and then something comes up explicit. Now, we may not be able to help that, but what we can help is the second click. Don't take that second thing. And notice, I'm not saying first, I'm saying second, right? So you don't engage in that second look, second thought, second click. But I've noticed through our work in this field, the mind, because we're talking about the mind is a very dangerous place. The most dangerous thing is a second thought. More dangerous than the looks and the clicks is the thought, because people may lower their gaze. People may not be on social media, but they can't escape this mind. We can't escape this mind. I could be in a resort in Dubai on the beach, but this mind is with me. Do you know what I mean? You get the hint, Adil. So basically, what I'm trying to say is like the thought is like people don't realize. They say, I ended up watching this inappropriate material and I relapsed. That wasn't the relapse. The relapse happened hours, days before, when you let go in your mind, when you started engaging in the second thought and you started acting out mentally. The mental acting out started releasing the dopamine. You started firing up those addictive neural pathways, and your relapse started there. And this is what you need to be very aware of, your thoughts. Don't play around. Don't play with fire or you're going to get burned. And sometimes you see, because we have automatic processes within our brain as well, sometimes any kind of thought, it'll be very strong, natural kind of patterns. Second, third, fourth. But it doesn't mean you give up. Okay, you've had the second, third, fourth, you've engaged. You still come back from that. You call out to Allah. You work the program. You go to the gym. You go to nature. You do dhikr. You do whatever you have to do to come back. Have that winning mindset. Don't let go. Don't go into the shadows. Don't go into the darkness. Pull yourself out of there. Get busy with family, friends. Go like those brothers, the stories that I mentioned. Drive 100 miles away if you have to another city. Book a holiday if you have the money. Do whatever you can. You have to sacrifice for the sake of Allah. You have to take radical action. You have to spend money in the path of Allah. Have the intention that every penny spent is for the sake of Allah, and that will be sadaqah jariyah. And present moment.
On the point of second thoughts, and what Abu Yasin said about not letting things bother him, let me give you an example of like road rage. Often when I see road rage, someone's made a mistake, right? And then obviously the person's horning at him, and then he's horning back, and then they start, start shouting from the window, and then it escalates, and then they come out of the car, and then they're really interacting, which are really shouting at each other and stuff like that. I've even seen a point where someone's about to pull a baseball bat out the boot. So, but now we're trying to get that is that if you've made the mistake in that sense, right? say sorry, and just kind of carry on, move on.
Keep it
That
moving.
person who you've upset will feel like an idiot, then getting angry and raging. You know, he's like, okay, you might still be like, okay, how do you that like? But then it'll go on. So like with your thoughts is that, you know, when that thought comes, don't interact with it. Be that second person where, you know, you're like, alright, cool. Let's just move on. Let's carry on my journey. But you know, when you're interacting with that driver or that thought, it's only going to cause problems. It's only going to cause issues because now you've escalated it. But rather just let it go, let it pass, as you were saying. Just let it go and be calm.
Yeah.
You know what? Sometimes it can be like, how can I say? Because like, just say sometimes like I'll like to avoid an argument or whatever, just let it go. Yeah, you'll say okay, fine. But then, how can I say that?
Sometimes you need to act.
Yeah, I'm just gonna say some people might think you're just you're just a walkover, like you're not, you're not really like thing, and that's happened to me as well. Do you know what I mean? Like, because I just agree with just to avoid the argument, just to avoid any hassle and that. Like, people have taken it as like, alright, this guy you can do whatever you want, but there's points where you have to step up as well and like be firm on if you've got something legit or to say or whatever. Share your opinion. Not saying just like become a, how can I say, like,
Like just let people. You don't want to enable people to take advantage.
advantage.
and
That's
limits,
it.
Yeah.
That's it. You know what I mean? So, yeah.
No, I think that's where conflict management comes in. Like, obviously, we're talking about present. So even when you are talking about something and you need to let a person know, like,
Yeah. Actually,
boundaries
that's right.
and limits, be present in that as well. Like, you said even road rage. Okay, road rage can get a bit peak, yeah, but learning conflict management and being present in that as well. Like, Adil, I'm not happy with this, my bro. Like, but being polite, being present, breathing while I'm telling you that I didn't like what you did there.
I like that breathing while you're saying it because
Yeah.
then you like hold your breath and you want to say that and you want to get angry and then like you forget to breathe and then
be your blood pressure is going up, you're breathing, so you don't want to do that. So it's more important when you're having these difficult discussions, maybe with your partner, with your children, you need to be very present. Do you know what I mean? Like, even because I listen to these guys, like, these meditation guys, and even like when my children are crying sometimes, yeah, some people might find this weird, but I try to be present and enjoy that, even like you're crying. Because if I go mad at the crying, what benefit is it? I'm just gonna lose it, and then I'm gonna shout at them, and they're gonna cry more. So when they're crying, I'll be like, you know what? It's beautiful. It's a blessing, man. For instance, from that angle, I have a son. Okay, he's crying, but that means I have a son. It's like someone said, for instance, you got penalty charge notice. You got £65. I remember talking to this brother once, and he said, you know what someone said to me? He said, that means you have a car. So be grateful for the car that you have. You know what I mean? Change the whole perspective. Do you know what I mean? Your wife is arguing with you. Just, sit back a bit and say, Alhamdulillah, I have a wife. You know what I mean? Like, let me appreciate her arguing.
It's something that you used to make dua for 10 years ago.
You know what I mean? And another guy was mentioning that this guy who also teaches meditation, he goes at the back of his window. A lot of people behind the car window, a lot of kind of like, I think maybe English people, they'll have like, I wish I was fishing right now. Or I wish I was on holiday right now. And he goes, this guy had a sticker behind his car. He said, I wish I was here and now. Or something like that. You know what I mean? Or not I wish. But he's like, I don't know the exact word he said, but it sounded sick. He's like, I wish I was here and now. Meaning he's like happy with whatever situation he is in. And this is shukr. This is gratitude. This is gratefulness. Appreciate right now whatever we have. Like you said, this is a lot of people's dream. Our life is a dream for people.
Definitely.
And they say, again, those statistics, rough statistics, that like us living, for instance, in the West, having food to eat, having a shelter over our head, security, and a bit of money to get by, we're like from the top 10%, I think, something like that. Yeah, out of the whole world, the whole dunya, we are the top 10% because we have these things that we take for granted. And this is why we always remind brothers, when you're doing gratitude, you don't need to be grateful for these amazing achievements, although you can bring that in. But what we say is focus on these things, these little things that we take for granted. Every day, be in a state of shukr, because this is very important, especially when you're feeling low moods. If you feel a certain way down, I do this myself. When I feel down, I just start saying things I'm grateful for. Ya Allah, I'm grateful for having a house. I'm grateful for a bed to sleep on. I'm grateful for having heating in the house, or now having a fan to blow wind. I'm grateful for my wife, my kids.
Okay, sorry to cut you. I don't know if this was a scholar who said this or what, but it's a saying that like write down your grateful list, and then write down your what was the other one?
Hopeless hope.
Hopelessness. Whatever.
No. That's great. That's not hopeless. Like how can I say it? The blessings? Write down your blessings,
Okay.
and then write down what's the opposite to that. It's still mourning for me.
Gratefulness and like things that are taken
just
away
like
from you.
the blessings you have and the worries you have. I think that's what
Yeah.
it is.
Yeah.
And see which one weighs more.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that way,
you can focus on the right thing. You can focus on what is right. That's exactly what we do in My Tazkiyah, innit?
Yeah.
So we encourage people,
Gratefulness.
brothers and sisters, that every day you wake up, like while you're getting ready, obviously do your azkar, your morning azkar, and start mentioning things you are grateful for. And also make a list of the things that are bothering you. Because in addiction, a lot of the things that are driving the addiction and relapses are underlying issues, underlying feelings, negative feelings, emotions. And when you write them down on paper, you process your emotions, and you are allowed you allow yourself to create this distance from those feelings, and you're more constructive. But a lot of people, if you don't write them down, or if you don't mention them, you won't know. You might be suffering from extreme anger at your boss who said something to you. You might be suffering from resentment towards your wife. You might be suffering from anxiety about your career. But if you write these things down, then you're not bottling those feelings up, and then you process them, and then you can talk to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala about them, or you can talk to other brothers about them, get advice regarding them. And just checking in or writing it down disrupts those old patterns, the addictive patterns. Do you know what I mean? And just to mention some points about present moment awareness, how we can enter into the now, how we can get out of the mind into the now. They are basically these grounding techniques, and as I mentioned, sense perceptions. So touching, like me just touching this mic, it's allowing me to get into the present moment. It's an entry point into the now. Me looking at this mic, again, I'm using my sense perceptions. It's an entry point into the now. Hearing, like if we were to just go silent right now, for a couple of seconds, what can you hear?
AC fan.
The AC fan. And you know what? Probably a lot of people come in this room and do podcasts and so on, but majority of them probably never hear that AC. They don't even focus on it. And I didn't even focus on it just up until now. And you focus on it. You know what I mean? And this is sometimes, I've done sessions with brothers, and I've had this quiet moment, and I say, what can you hear? And I remember a brother mentioning, I can hear the engines of the cars passing by on the road, or I can hear birds tweeting, or I can hear some children like making noise in the background. And that shows how busy we are in our mind, how rushed we are, that we stop learning to live life. Do you know what I mean? We're always in the past or future, and that's quite miserable if you think about it.
Mm-hmm.
And then we have to book holidays in Dubai and Malaysia and pay 3,000, 6,000 pounds to get that presents.
Yeah.
Do you know what I think? I think that, like, there was a video someone on a group that they shared about growing up in the 90s and how it used to be.
How those were the good times.
I think that, you know what, like, I think we need to go back to that. Like, do you know what I mean? Just go out for a walk with your, I'm not saying with your whole family, but, you know, like, go to the park. Or, especially the kids, like, instead of being cooped up at home.
Riding your bike.
Do you know what I mean? Like, riding your
Yeah,
bike
getting out.
and stuff like that. Just the 20...
Even like with regards to prayer and memorization, for instance, you know, this, if you start to do this present moment awareness, it's going to start changing your brain. It's going to start changing your old neural pathways. It's very hard. It's very hard. I've kind of been on this journey for years and I still struggle. But it's only when I really start focusing on it, those days go by so like beautifully, like when I'm present. But your brain does change. It does rewire, and you learn that you're spending a lot more time enjoying the present moment. And even with Quran, for instance, you know, whenever we try to do a bit of memorization, I see that a lot of us, if we try to memorize, we're doing it really fast, right? We're doing it fast. And then you probably won't want to continue because you're just rushing, you're creating this uneasy feeling. But when you do it slowly, you enjoy it, you know? Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen, Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim, Maliki Yawmiddin, or whatever, like, you know, verse or, you know, you're reciting, just slow it down and enjoy the Quran. It's the word of Allah. Even in prayer, you know, I try to read very slowly, and that helps me to get present. And you know, subhanallah, that narration where Allah responds in Surah Fatiha as well after the verses, subhanallah. Even if you could go from that angle, and you know, read your prayer. You know, once you say Allahu Akbar, like, you should basically let go of the dunya. Like, it has to become insignificant. You're talking to your Lord, and He's talking to you. Do you know what I mean? And this is something I can advise: present moment awareness in prayer, khushu. But obviously, like, when you start doing this stuff naturally, inshallah, everything will slow down. So just reading slowly, Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alamin. Even breathing, right, in between Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim, Maliki Yawmiddin. Not like, you know, subhanallah, like, you know, some, as we see in Ramadan, you know, they call them the Ferrari Imams, like, that's just not right, you know what I mean? And even Quran, reading Quran, enjoying it, you know, appreciating even the book, even the pages, you know, the writing, and when you're reading the Quran, slowing it down, and that will inshallah allow you to be more present, enjoy reading the Quran, and take you out of your mind while you're reading these things, you know. And so these sense perceptions, you know, seeing, hearing, as we mentioned, even smelling, you know, the next meal we all have, like, appreciate the smell of the food. How often do we do this? Right, smell your mum's cooking, your wife's cooking, or your own cooking.
Yeah,
and
you can smell, my brothers, you ain't smell hutki.
Hutki.
You might haven't smelled
No,
hutki,
I'm sure I've managed it, bro.
Nah.
I spent a lot of time in East London.
Bro, I'm telling you, like, oof.
I'm pretty sure. Pinpoint it.
You can't stand the smell.
Is it?
Yeah, I can't stand the smell because
Is it really
it reeks.
Yeah.
It reeks.
Is
sorry.
that fish, right?
Yeah.
But you mentioned it, you're part of the culture though, yeah? So he's not trying to bash the culture. The brother's part of the culture, alhamdulillah.
I'm half Bengali,
he has family. He has family, like, you know what I mean? So we don't get the Bengali brothers and sisters upset. Yeah. Alhamdulillah. Like, well, obviously every
What's it taste like then?
Okay, I haven't tasted it.
Oh, you haven't tasted it?
Bro, I'm telling you, like, I literally have to walk out the house or go into the garden or lock myself in a room. Like, I can't handle the. Trust me, like, it's deep. You have to have a gas mask. You have that gas mask. I'm telling you.
It's like we have stomach in it, you know. It's hardly like, it's not a normal meal, like once in a blue moon stomach, that smells a bit funny as well sometimes, isn't it?
That I can't.
Orgy, they call it.
Yeah, I
Orgy,
can't eat that anymore either. But I used to love it back in the days, but
Yeah.
I can't. I mean, they say that hudki, once you taste it, you're gonna think it's banging, like you're gonna love it.
Yeah.
But you have to get over the smell. If you can get over the smell, then you're fine. But nah, man, it's like a dead rat, bro. I'm telling you.
No, you have to calm down there now, bro. Seriously. But yeah, man, inshallah. I think, should we end it there? It's coming to the end, roughly.
Yeah.
Inshallah, barakallahu feek for watching the episode. May Allah bless you all. Until next time, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.